Rabbi Barry Silver has been serving the Congregational Lador in Lake Worth, Florida since 1998. He is an attorney practicing public law, interest, and personal injury law since 1983. In addition, he has been Florida legislator from 1996 to 1998 in Florida House Representative District 98. Barry Silver is also the founder and co-chair of Palm Beach County Environmental Coalition. He is a lecturer at Palm Beach Community College and the Jewish Community Center Adult Education. Some legal accomplishments of Rabbi Barry Silver are that he has successfully represented individuals and public interest organizations fighting for civil rights, women's rights, and environment, Native Americans and the poor and others. He has also accomplished and defeated the Operation Rescue and obtained a permanent injunction and attorney fees under Florida RICO racketeering law, which put Operation Rescue out of business and ended abortion clinics, blockades throughout the country. Interestingly enough, for his efforts, Rabbi Silver is the only man awarded in the Broward County National Organization for the Women's Feminist of the Year Award. He has also defeated the Women's Rights to Know Act, an anti-abortion law, which was passed in 1997. Rabbi Silver has vindicated a Jupiter veteran's rights to fly a flag despite efforts of his homeowners association to stop him from flying the flag. Rabbi Silver has also worked with the governor, the legislature, and the attorney general in passing new laws and securing the right to fly the flag for all Floridians. Rabbi Silver has also appeared on national and local television shows and print media discussing legal and religious topics, including MSNBC, Hannity, and Combs, 48 Hours, and CBS News. Some of Rabbi Silver's rabbinical activities are that he has co-founded and chairs the Interfaith Justice League, performs interfaith weddings and ceremonies in French and Spanish, and he also works with all faiths and acts of social action. Everybody, please give a warm hand of applause for Rabbi Silver.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Thanks. I appreciate that great introduction, which you read just the way my mother wrote it for you. I enjoyed every hour of that introduction. Thank you very much. I did serve in the Florida legislature. It was quite an interesting experience. And my father also was a rabbi, and so I got to invite him, and he came up to say a prayer at the beginning of the session of the Florida legislature. And one of the legislators said, "Rabbi, are you going to say a prayer for the legislature?" And he said, "After seeing what this legislature has been doing, I thought it would be more appropriate to say a prayer for the people of Florida." So it was an interesting experience serving up there. And last time I was here, I had a great time. It was wonderful. And after my speech, someone came up to me and said, "Rabbi, I loved your speech. I woke up from it refreshed." It's not easy being Jewish in this world, and in this country it's not so easy being Muslim, so we have a lot in common, right? In fact, there was once a retreat where a rabbi and a priest and a minister all went off into the woods just to commune and meditate and have some moments of silence, and they said, "You know what? Why don't we have a contest and see who's able to convert a bear to their religion?" So the priest went out, and he came back a few hours later, and he was all battered and bruised. He was hobbling, and they said, "What happened to you?" He said, "Well, I had quite a struggle with the bear. He really wasn't interested in hearing about Catholicism, but I threw some holy water on him. Now he's Catholic." So then they sent the minister out. The minister goes out, and he comes back also a few hours later. He's pretty badly bruised also. And they said, "What happened to you?" He said, "Oh, it's a real struggle. I was fighting and wrestling with the bear. Finally, I read a few verses from the New Testament, and now he's a Christian." So then the rabbi goes out. They send the rabbi out. He didn't come back 3 hours later. He came back 3 days later. Oh, man, he was really badly beat. He could barely walk. And they said, oh, my goodness, what happened to you? And he said, you know, it probably wasn't such a good idea to start out with a circumcision. Now, we have some kids here, so you don't have to explain that to them now, but when you kids are 18, you're going to really laugh. That's a funny joke. Anyway, so there are some difficulties in adhering to religion, but I'm glad to see that here people really understand what it means to be religious. And it doesn't mean only reading holy books. It means doing holy things. And here, holy things are being done, and it's being done right here tonight. And everyone who is coming here tonight is participating. There's another story my dad used to tell about the kid who went off to college. He goes off to college, and he writes a letter to his parents, and he said, Dear Mom and Dad, I'm having a great time here at college, but you know, I could use some money. And I'd also love to have a copy of the Bible so I could read the Bible every night. So the parents send him the Bible. The kid then writes a letter back. Dear Mom and Dad, I love the Bible. I'm reading it every night, but I could still use some money. So the parents write a letter back. If you had only opened up the Bible to the first page, you would have found a check inside. How many people say, oh yes, I love to read the Bible, I love to read the Quran, I love to read the Torah, but do they actually know what's in it? Do they actually practice it? Here they do. Now, we have a story in Jewish scripture, and I bet you have the same story in the Quran, more or less. It's a story about Jacob and Esau. Oh, they didn't get along too well. If you want to talk about sibling rivalry, it was pretty bad. But then later on, they come together. They come together in friendship and peace. These are the fathers of the Jewish and the Muslim people, and they embrace. And they hug each other. And when they do that, the Torah says that Jacob said, hugging you and coming together with you is like seeing the face of God. Did God actually appear, the face of God? No. What he's saying is that when Jews and Muslims come together, it's a godly act. It's a beautiful thing. And if we're paying tribute to Abraham, anyone here who's a parent knows that the worst thing that you could ever see is your children fighting. Imagine how Abraham would feel if he saw Jews and Muslims, his children, fighting. But here tonight, if he could be here today, he would be smiling because he is seeing Jews and Christians and Muslims all getting along. What a beautiful thing, and I thank Darul Uloom for arranging this. Now, some of you might be thinking, you know, I could be watching baseball right now. You know, I could be watching a baseball game right now. But I want to tell you something that you might not know. Baseball is a Jewish and a Muslim sport. Did you know that? Well, I can prove it to you. The Bible begins, Jewish scripture begins, in the big inning, God created heaven and earth. When did he rest? He rested on the seventh day, and in baseball, they rest in the seventh inning. But let me tell you, my friends, why baseball is really a Jewish and a Muslim sport. Because in most sports, you start at one place and you try to get as far away from where you started as you can, all the way to the other side. Not in baseball. You go first base, second base, third base, and no matter how far you get, your ultimate goal is to come home. The home is so important to Jews and Muslims and, of course, Christians as well. The home is celebrated, and we see so many people here who are so devoted to their homes and their families. And I'm glad to see even the sheriff's office showed up, because I appreciate what the sheriff's office does. In fact, I was driving the other day. A police officer came and he stopped me. He said, "Rabbi, you're going a little fast." I said, "Please don't give me a ticket. I'm just a poor preacher." He said, "I know, I've heard you preach." And by the way, you know, it's kind of odd that we have a patriarch named Abraham, because how could he keep kosher with a name like Abraham? He had Ham in his name. But still, we celebrate his memory. Before I sit down, I have my son Ari, who has a few words that he wants to say, and then I'm going to surprise Sheikh Shafayet. I have to tell you, he is such a great leader and a friend of mine, and I really appreciate his friendship. I could call him up and say, "I got an interfaith dialogue," and at the drop of a yarmulke, he'll take off and he'll go and he'll be with us anytime, and we really appreciate